and welcome to Recovery Report Live. I'm Dan Odess, president of GlobalPro, where we manage risk to recovery, and we've managed more than $1 billion in recovery right here at GlobalPro. We have offices throughout the country ready to serve your interests as policyholders. Whether it's placing insurance or recovering from loss, we are your first call. More so today than ever before, we want to make sure you're making that call because navigating these processes today are much more difficult and complicated than we've ever seen in history. There's more technology involved. There's more shenanigans going on than we've ever been dealing with in this industry. And it is important that you have the information you need as both business owners or board members or property managers when dealing with insurance. The old thought process of trusting your broker and trusting the process isn't good enough. You are fiduciaries, whether you are a business owner, a property manager, or a board member. You are charged with protecting the financial interest of your family, your employees, your fellow unit owners, and making sure that the financial health of your business or your community is protected throughout the process. And the reason why we buy insurance is to protect that very interest, that financial interest, to making sure that you have what you need if you experience a loss or damage to your property or business, that the insurance company is there or that insurance that you bought is in place to make sure that you are financially whole from that loss or damage. The problem is the growing amount of products that provide very little or no coverage for our most often losses that we experience as business owners or as community associations, such as water, fire, hurricanes, all of these types of coverages that we would need, particularly in the coastal areas, whether that's in the Gulf Coast or the Atlantic Coast or even the Pacific. There is limitations added to our policies through endorsements or even just new approved policy forms that you're going to be completely unaware of. Most brokers have no idea that this stuff is being snuck into policies. And without an expert on your side, it's going to be even more difficult to navigate the process. But before I go on, I want to make sure that you all know about the special birthday that we are celebrating. Rob Bowlby, the president of the GlobalPro Texas office, we want to wish him a heartfelt, obviously a very, very heartfelt happy birthday to him and to his family. He's away on a little bit of vacation, enjoying himself, and we want to make sure that he knows that we are thinking of him and want to wish him the happiest of birthdays. Big integral part of what we have going on here at GlobalPro. And so again, happy birthday, Rob. Hope you're enjoying it with your family and Sarah and the kids. We're thinking about you. But back to what's going on here in the insurance market, some things that you want to think about as consumers. The governor of Florida just recently signed yet another bill on his, I would call his presidential campaign run, because much of what he's saying is really not going to do much of anything for you as consumers. Now, it plays well in the media, and I'm sure the insurance industry is really applauding it, despite what they may say about some of the accountability measures that it has in place for consumers. Understand that most of those things, you are not going to see any sort of immediate relief or any relief at all play out here, but you can definitely see the Herlikin effort to try to balance the message, because most of what has happened over the last couple of years has been orientated against battling the consumers and their advocates, whether it's public adjusters or attorneys, stripping insurance policies of coverages that wouldn't necessarily need to be there. I mean, the reason why you buy hurricane coverage is to make sure that you have money to pay for the replacement, largely to do with your roof, right? I mean, let's be honest, when a hurricane hits an area, roofs, windows, and doors are definitely the biggest target for that wind, the wind-blown debris, the rain, and the flooding. It's the roofs, the windows, the doors where we see the damage first, right? And so legislative efforts have curbed the insurance company's obligation to pay you for much of that due to some crazy-ass schedule for payments on roofs. It makes absolutely, and again, fundamentally no sense. It also rewrites sound construction and engineering principles that led to some legislation years ago regarding replacement cost value or actual cost value policies, and we used to formerly call it like kind of 50% rule. simply ignores it, substitutes it for profits. There's really no other way of explaining it. There's literally no foundation or a justification for anything that was included in those bills. And then here along comes the governor trying to fix some of those things with this recent legislative efforts. Obviously, I'm pro-consumer, and I'm focused on things that are going to help us. And it's great to see that finally some sort of accountability is included in some of this legislation, along with some of the horrific laws that they passed for curbing one-way attorney's fees and really, honestly, much of anything to hold the insurance companies accountable has slowly eroded here in Florida. Texas, on the other hand, passed laws that make it so that an insurance company can't use what's called an anti-public adjusting endorsement in their policies, whether it's admitted or surplus lines, something we haven't seen a whole lot of accountability and focus on surplus lines insurance, despite the fact that over the last 3 to 4 years, coming into the sessions in which most of this anti-consumer legislation was passed, you saw a lot of consumers shift into the surplus lines market because there were very few admitted insurers in the marketplace. However, there was very little legislative efforts to hold them as accountable as the same way that we hold our admitted insurers accountable in the state of Florida. Now, allegedly that's changing, and they're going to do the same in Florida, and we started to see some semblance of it. I won't even bore you with trying to get into or try to even explain to you what this more recent legislation that the governor just signed, because quite frankly, I think it's not going to do anything to help consumers. I don't think it's going to soften the market. I don't think it's going to advantage you as a consumer in any way whatsoever. In fact, I don't think it's going to do, again, anything. I'm trying to find other ways to say, or am I just trying to fill time? Because it's so frustrating. It's to look at these things, and it's absolutely stupid. I just saw an article come out about this organization did this very, very much one-sided evaluation or investigation into issues plaguing the state of Florida insurance market. It targeted the article targeted certainly public adjusters as well as lawyers, painting a picture that the contributing factor to the issues we have in the market are attorneys and public adjusters, which we know is not even close to being true. We know, though, that there are so many other contributing factors. The article doesn't even touch on the issue with regards to the fraud that was committed by insurance companies and with regards to slashing claims and reports that you had independent adjusters come out. It doesn't touch on the fact that there was 100,000 plus complaints filed against insurance companies and only 90 or so filed against public adjusters. I'm giving round numbers, but just to make a point here, none of that is discussed. So they believe this predatory habit of online marketing has fueled the litigation and disputes amongst policyholders regarding their claims or property damages. But again, the consumer complaints and the sentiments of consumers doesn't track the same way that these pro-industry experts, so-called experts, make this information out or interpret this information to mean. Because how do you have such massive growing dissatisfaction amongst consumers who are largely unrepresented, by the way, in claims, despite the percentages and garbage numbers that they use to create some nonsense foundation for their opinions? Most consumers that have losses, it remains, are largely unrepresented, either by public adjusters and or eventually by attorneys. So when they talk about these percentages and the amount of litigation and all this other nonsense garbage statistics, understand this. Few are actually represented relative to the amount that actually make claims. Now, with that in mind, if you look at the rampant amount of complaints made against insurance companies and the growing dissatisfaction amongst consumers that is well reported and which is well-founded in proof that there's a problem with the way that they're actually managing the claims and the expectations of the consumers. The the marketing strategy, let's talk about the marketing strategy of insurance companies. Most of us will note that most of the marketing that we see by insurance companies is about saving time and money. But since when was insurance about saving time or money? Insurance is about protecting me financially. In fact, that's why your bank makes you buy insurance if you own property and has a mortgage on it. They, again, want to protect their financial interest in that transaction. So they make you buy insurance to make you whole, not because it's going to save you time or money. But the deceptive practices by most insurance companies when they're doing their marketing is to talk about how they're going to save you time and money. Why don't they talk about what they're going to do for you in the event of a claim? And I mean, give specifics. Don't just give me some animation or some character that is supposed to make it attract my attention during a Super Bowl, okay, or the big game. I don't even know what I'm allowed to use there, right? Let's actually give facts. Walk me through a scenario. If I have a water loss in my home, what are you going to do for me, XYZ insurance company? Rather than focusing on the practices of the minority, let's focus on the practices of the insurance companies, which may have led to the erosion of consumer confidence in insurance companies. And I think we'll find our issue also. There's these task force that every so often pop up. We had one in 2020, I believe it was, where they were supposed to do this deep dive into the financial structures of insurance companies. And quite frankly, I did a lot of searching online today, and I'm trying to find the outcome of a lot of this. There's no reports. I'm still kind of curious as to what was the outcome of those extraction reports, as I saw one news media article had reported on. What is going on there? How is it that the Florida market, and I know this is different than most other markets in the way in which insurance is transacted relative to property, okay? I'm focusing there. How the reinsurance is bought, the role of managing general agents, the contracts between and the relationships between insurance companies and the adjusters or the people that are the retail agents that are selling insurance. Follow the buck, if you will, and how does that all work? And there was allegedly supposed to be some sort of investigation. In fact, some of the legislation we've seen recently, the Insurer Accountability Acts, it kind of, in a way, based on my understanding of it, modeled some of the intent of those investigations then. So, again, begs the question, is like, I thought we were investigating this, and now we're passing laws around it to increase reporting standards, et cetera, et cetera. We saw some semblance of some new laws regarding surplus lines insurers. But again, Texas took the initiative. Arbitration, it's in Texas if it's in the insurance policy. No anti-public adjustment. You have a constitutional right to representation. There's insurance companies actually using forms that violate a policy, I would argue, violate a policyholder's rights to representation. But the OIR allegedly approved the use of some forms or won't take a position on it. I'm trying to have a hard time, and it's early on in my understanding of this process, but like only more recently do you start to see some of these things creep in here. But again, Texas took the initiative. They saw it. I mean, this issue on the anti-public adjustment thing has been going on for years in Florida, but Texas took the initiative to protect consumers, to give them the right and the access to actually consumer advocates. Again, the minority of policyholders will retain representation in the event of a loss, particularly in Florida. It's just a proven fact. Yet the insurance industry will lead you to believe that it's the retention of insurance experts to represent your interest, whereas they're allowed to, but you're not allowed to, is what's causing the problem, despite the fact that you just had the Washington Post report on it, several other media outlets that they're reporting that the experts, the representatives for the insurance company that were hired to adjust claims for the insurance company are turning around suing their employer for changing their reports without their authorization and keeping their names affixed to it. So, again, I'm scratching my head. What was the last couple of years of consumer legislation that led to the curbing of attorney's fees and the curbing increase in standards of public adjusting, et cetera, statute of limitations was shortened, et cetera, all in favor of the insurance industry. But again, the consumer complaints are on the side of the insurance companies. The satisfaction is with the insurance companies. The minority of people that have claims, will have representation. So again, is it really the consumer advocates? Is it the insurance experts that are leading to these issues? Are we connecting the dots, or are we just simply focusing on some sizzle words, some key phrases that get the attention of the minority? And there is an issue with regards to, and it's a long told story of representation of the majority of property owners who buy insurance versus how they are represented in Tallahassee in Florida. And maybe that plays into some of the issues. And I remember that back when we were dealing with sinkhole issues. A lot of legislation and a lot of legislative initiatives were being supported and pushed by representatives in areas that had a minority of policyholders, as opposed to the majority where there were no issues. Now, again, I'm not going to sit here and make you believe that I think that there are not bad actors. Of course, there is in every industry. Just like the Washington Post article published, there's obviously bad people on both sides doing bad things. It happens. That's why the laws are there, consumer law. But I beg the question, if over 100,000 to less than 100, okay, in complaints by consumers, and the focus of the legislator is on the consumer advocate, what say you? If I go back to an OPAGA report, 10-08, you can go read it yourself. Again, it's something pushed by the insurance industry looking into the impacts of public adjusting. You're going to get more if you hire an expert, effectively, at the onset of your loss to represent your interest. Bad on you to make sure that you get every dollar you're entitled to. That's basically the outcome of that. We saw some laws that got passed regarding public adjusting that were determined to be unconstitutional thereafter. But again, for about a year or so, it caused irreparable harm to an industry. And many people that I know decided to exit the industry. And honestly, that's a huge win to them. Even though it got ruled unconstitutional, they still got people out of the business. And for a period of time, it was bad news. Now, if we think back to Hurricane Wilma and the time period between Wilma and Irma and the decade or so, and you look at the modeling that goes into the price, determination of cost for insurance. There was a recent article that was talking about how we're using advanced models. We're looking forward-looking models as opposed to historical models or past models to determine the price. So in a period of time where you don't have losses, major losses or hurricanes damage, particularly like South Florida, it's been over 5 years or so. That's actually direct impact in South Florida. And you use forward-looking models to price the cost of the insurance. Again, something's not adding up to me. And you have an accrual of opportunity there, and it's not on the side of the consumer. All things to understand and dissect and think about as a business owner or a property manager dealing with a situation or association board that are making a decision as to what they want to buy. Understand that what you're buying today is not what you may have bought several years ago. The products have been stripped of coverages. There's additional endorsements there, limitations. They are working overtime. I've never seen anything like it to change policy forms now in a hard market. Jack up the rates, reduce the coverages, and I will tell you that most brokers, agents, when I ask them about certain provisions, they're unaware of it. They're selling things based on spreadsheets or fancy brochures. They're not selling it based on the actual product. The product. Get a hold of that product. I encourage you all, get that product. It's really, really important. Well, I know I've talked at length about this issue. We had a late start today here on the Recovery Report Live. We had some work being done in the studio to make this broadcast and many other things we're about to do even better. I'm actually sitting in what's now the Nucleus Hub in Coconut Grove. Our very own Griffin studio, if you will, has evolved. It's taken on a new life and a new opportunity, and I can't wait to bring on our manager of Nucleus here in Coconut Grove to talk all about what we're going to be and how we're going to be impacting the creative space. It's exciting for me to talk about. There's so many details I want to share with you right now, but I'm not. It's a cliffhanger. I'm going to keep you on the edge of your seat, just like as I am, to wait and see what is to come. It's really exciting here for the entire team at GlobalPro, as well as our team at Nucleus. We have combined forces. We have launched something that is revolutionary, that is going to change, we believe is going to change the creative space. And I'm excited, and I can't wait to share it with you. But before I say anything more, because I really, really want to share so much more with you, we are always trying to innovate at GlobalPro. There is never a time that my team, that I am not looking forward to try to figure out a way to help you as consumers. That's what it's all about. And if you haven't already, liked us and follow us on all our social media, as well as hit that subscribe button. More and more people are hitting it today than ever before. They're hitting the like button. They're hitting the follow button. They're making sure they're connected with us on LinkedIn. They are subscribing to our YouTube. If they're not subscribed, they're watching. They're tuning in. We look at the metrics all the time to make sure that we are providing content to you as policyholders that is meaningful. If there's something you want to hear about, if you want to come on and join me as a business owner, as an industry expert, whether you're in insurance, hospitality, you're in real estate, whatever it may be, come on, share your story, talk to us about important issues impacting it, and see where you might fit within the creative space here at Nucleus. I'm telling you what, it is exciting. It's coming. But again, for GlobalPro, make sure that you've gone onto globalpro.com, hit the resource section. We are in storm season. There's stuff off the coast. There's areas of interest that keep spooling up. We are in a heat wave here in South Florida. There was hail event, major hail, that hit the Dallas, Texas area. I know our team in Texas, led by Rob, sent out hundreds of emails to our clientele and our vendors, making sure, and our industry partners, making sure that they know the latest of what is happening and how we can help them or how they can help themselves in the infancy following a major disaster that might have been caused by either the heat wave, the massive fire issue and smoke issue and soot that occurred in New York. I talked at length at the last week's broadcast about that. So again, if you're a business owner and you were shut down because of the wildfires and the resulting soot and smoke, let us know how we can help you. If you've been impacted by the hail event that just occurred in Texas area or the heat waves and things that occur, your business shut down, you have surge in electrical, stuff happens, hurricanes come on shore. You want to be prepared, and the best way you can be prepared is making sure that you're following us and like us on all our social media, and make sure you check out our website at globalpro.com, and never fear, reach out to our team of insurance experts, and we'll answer any question you might have. But again, thank you all for joining us this week on the Recovery Report Live. We'll be same place, same time, right here at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on the Recovery Report Live. Next week, we have a guest coming on, by the way, and going to share with you some important information that you're not going to want to miss. So again, hit the subscribe button, like us, and follow us. We'll see you same time, same place, right here on the Recovery Report Live.